All right, welcome back, everybody. Broadcasting from the International Relations Building here in Pretoria, a magnificent structure that we've found so many African representatives gathered here for the start of FOCAC Summit. That is tomorrow. With me here, of course, is our Minister of International Relations, who, let's just talk a little bit about what FOCAC is all about. I mean, what actually happens there?
When the FOCAC was started 15 years ago, and the first summit was in China. That is a meeting of heads of states. Since then, we have been having ministerial meetings, both in China and in South Africa. Now, this is quite a historic moment because this is the second time ever that we have this Forum for Africa-China Cooperation. What is more exciting is it is for the very first time that the FOCAC Summit takes place on African soil. So we have seen the relations growing, but also indeed that we will now have the summits in China, but also on the continent of Africa. When it started, it really focused on the senior officials meetings, then the ministerial meetings, and if it's held in a given country in Africa, the head of state from that particular country will come and do the opening address. If it's in China, the president would come and bless the occasion. But now here, it's the second summit ever in the 15 years that is taking place on African soil. So we are very happy about that.
It's incredible. And
yes.
We were saying that there are possibly about 50 heads of state that are going to be represented here from the African continent, yes, and of course from China.
We have 50 heads of states, governments, senior leaders representing their countries who had confirmed to participate in this forum. Today we will have the Ministerial Forum for Africa-China Cooperation here in this building. And then we'll move over to the ICC, to Johannesburg, for the 4th and 5th of December for the meeting now, or the Summit of Heads of States. So our leaders' meeting will be in Johannesburg. The senior officers' meeting and the ministerial meeting is taking place here in Pretoria, in the OR Tambo building.
Yeah. Well, as we keep telling our viewers at home that we, of course, are surrounded here this morning by the representative ministers. As you know, there is going to be the meeting of the ministerial heads here in this building today. But what's important is also just before the Chinese President Xi arrived here in South Africa, he had a state visit to Zimbabwe. And with us here in the audience, and I'm going to ask one of our individuals to come through, there we go, just to give the minister, one of the foreign affairs ministers from Zimbabwe, is Simbrahashe Bubungwengwi, who is with us today. If you don't mind rising, please, sir. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us this morning, and welcome to South Africa and, of course, to this breakfast. How was the visit from President Xi between your president and the Chinese president, and what kind of agreements were signed?
Yes, it is true that President Xi Jinping, over the past 2 days, was visiting Zimbabwe. And it was, of course, for our country, a very momentous occasion. Okay. Because it gave our two countries an opportunity to look much, much deeper into our relationship at the political level, at the economic level, and we as Zimbabwe are extremely satisfied at the agreements that were reached in terms of our political and economic cooperation. Now allow me to speak much more broadly on the Africa-China relationship. I also happen to be the chair of the Executive Council of the African Union, which is the ministerial segment of the African Union member states. China is a very, very special friend of Africa. When China grew its economy, they are now the second largest economy in the world. They felt that they should share this with developing countries in general and Africa in particular. And in our cooperation between Africa and China, let us not forget that as our heads of state and government meet, they are actually representing more than 2.5 billion people on our globe.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is a very, very significant section of the global population whose leaders are meeting here. Let me thank Minister Mashabane and Minister Yang Yi, Foreign Minister of China, for providing us this opportunity. We are going to have a very important meeting after this. But the most important point I want to make about China.
Minister, I'm going to have to interrupt you just for there. We will pick it up in a short while. We need to just take an ad break. That's the joy of live television, unfortunately.
Thank you.
But I will pick up on your point. But thank you so much for what you have said and for updating us on what's going on. But what we have to do now is say goodbye to our SABC 2 viewers. If you want to continue watching this, please do tune in to Channel 404. There's a full hour dedicated to this, where we'll be talking to many of our other African ministers that are gathered here. And of course, give our good colleague from Zimbabwe the opportunity to finish as well. So thank you for watching, everybody. Let's take a quick break and then a sharp from Ayanda in studio as well.